This isn't just another story about a disease. It's actually a story about a life that was almost completely derailed and how it was saved by one single, powerful piece of information about tuberculosis. Just think about it for a second. Imagine your life is on this perfect track. Everything you've ever wanted is just falling into place. And then, bam, in an instant, that path just shatters. This is a story about that moment. But more importantly, it's about how hope can be put back together piece by piece. So, to really get the shock of what's coming, we've got to rewind a little bit. We need to see what life was like before. Before the diagnosis, before all the fear set in, life was on a pretty clear and happy path. So here he is. He's 27 years old. He's in love. He's planning his wedding. He's mapping out his entire future. I mean, everything is going exactly as you'd hope. But then a shadow starts to creep in. And it starts as something really small, just a cough that won't go away. At first, it's easy to brush off, just an annoyance. But it hangs around. It gets a little worse, and it starts casting a chill on all those bright plans. And that persistent cough, the one he tried to ignore, well, it eventually leads him to a doctor's office and to a moment that is going to completely redefine his future. And the diagnosis? Well, it wasn't a cold, it wasn't the flu. It was tuberculosis. That's a word that sounds like it belongs in another century, right? It's heavy, it's frightening, and it was totally, completely unexpected. And just like that, in that one moment, the future, the wedding, all of it just seems to evaporate. And it's replaced by this single despairing question. Is my life over before it even began? Okay, so what is tuberculosis really? It's a serious infectious disease, and it mainly hits the lungs. But right there in that clinical definition are two words that would change absolutely everything. The crucial bit of info he was about to learn. It is treatable, and it is curable. And that one fact, that TB is curable, wow, that changes the entire game. The despair starts to lift just a little, and it's replaced by a new question. All right, so it's curable, that's great, but how? You start thinking about the costs, right? The treatment could be long, it could be expensive. With your whole life on hold, where do you even begin to look for help? And the answer he found was, honestly, pretty astonishing. The cost for the complete, comprehensive TB treatment at a government hospital, zero. Absolutely nothing. And we're not talking about just a little bit of help here. Zero meant everything. The diagnosis, the tests, the regular checkups with the doctor, and most importantly, the entire course of medicine needed for a full cure. All of it, 100% free. You see, this was the real turning point. It was more than the free medicine. Even more than the access to doctors, it was the constant reinforcement of this one single idea. TB is not a life sentence. It is a curable disease. Hope wasn't just a possibility, it was the expected outcome. So with a clear path forward and this renewed sense of hope, he could finally start the real journey, the journey back to health. And what's amazing is that the road to recovery suddenly didn't seem so scary or complicated anymore. It was just a series of clear, simple steps. It starts with that diagnosis, then you start the medication. The real key is consistency, taking every single dose, seeing the doctor for regular checkups. But the most critical part, you have to complete the full course, even after you start feeling better. The change wasn't just physical. It was this massive emotional shift. That initial paralyzing fear, it turned into hope. The feeling of being totally isolated was replaced by the support from the medical staff. Despair gave way to determination, and that suffocating uncertainty was replaced by the real, tangible feeling of making progress, day by day. So after months of sticking with it, of being determined, he finally reached the end of his treatment, the end of his journey with this disease. And the result? Well, it boils down to three simple but incredibly powerful words. Cured, healthy, and ready for the future. The life he thought was gone was his again. So we're right back where this story started, but now everything is different. The wedding is back on the table. The life that was so jarringly interrupted can finally press play again. The shadow is gone, and believe me, the future is looking brighter than ever. And that really brings us to the final and maybe most important thought here. This isn't just one person's story, it's a blueprint for hope. Just knowing that TB is curable and that all this treatment is available for free, that is life-saving information. So the real question isn't just what this knowledge did for him, but what can I do for others? How many other lives can this knowledge save?